that he was an authoritarian. And authoritarians try to lock up people who are their political enemies.
Unfortunately, I think we're seeing the beginning of this administration going after journalists. I think they're only going to be more emboldened.
No, the greatest asset for a politician is total shamelessness, and he has it in spades.
You answer the question, why are you suing IRS?
ABC fake news.
You're suing.
Go ahead, I didn't call on you.
Why both sides can't address what they now know is a crisis involving kids on the border.
I don't like what I see. I don't like the far right. I don't like the extremism.
Would or should the American people trust Democrats?
And that was baseless. I never said that word in my democracy.
Americans don't like what they're seeing right now.
General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. The flags of freedom fly all over Europe.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
The date is June 16th, 1858. The time of day was approximately 8 p.m. in the evening in Springfield, Illinois. The country is in a state of tension, frustration, and confusion. The population is virtually split between two conflicting ideas and moral solution. The annual Republican State Convention is just now reaching a close. The man who was given the nomination for the Senate race was primed and ready to give his acceptance speech. He approached the stage calm but firm and delivered a remarkably simple yet extremely impactful sentence. He opened his mouth, and as the words left his lips, everyone felt the weight and conviction of what he was saying. A house divided against itself cannot stand. While this is not a piece on the life of President Lincoln, that quote in our history is vital to understand where we came from, where we are now. A house collapsing. Abraham Lincoln was known for many things during his time as president. He was the first Republican president, he was the president during the Civil War, he freed the slaves, and a lot more. He was also an incredibly talented public speaker. During his time running and operating as the president, the country was split and divided. There needed to be someone to rise to the occasion and needs of an ever-expanding country. Thus, we arrive at a man such as Abraham Lincoln. Victory in Europe, otherwise known as VE Day, took place on May 8th of 1945. Germany had formally surrendered and accepted defeat, which meant the killing and genocide of millions of Jews finally ended. While the end of World War II would come later, the entire country was united and brought together by one shared goal, that being to end the Nazi regime. On September 11th of 2001, the US was attacked by a terrorist group under the Taliban. This attack ended in the loss of thousands. The US would then retaliate and make its presence known. Once again, there was a sense of unity and a shared goal. This country has been tried and tested, and the result historically has always been the same. We've had so many die for the rights and freedoms that we today benefit from. However, those very freedoms are now being used to alienate, divide, and rip people apart. August 9th of 2022 seems like an insignificant date to most, but to political analysts, this was a day that turned assumptions into conclusions. On this day, Pew Research Center would release an article to the public that would slam the door open on just how badly we have been divided. According to their findings, it was seen that 61% of Republicans view Democrats unfavorably. On the other hand, 54% viewed Republicans unfavorably. Both parties and their majorities have this view, but there's a very important question that needs to be asked here. Why? Why do they have this view? Why do they see them unfavorably? Why do both sides genuinely believe the other side is evil? On October 30th of 2025, they released a similar article detailing why party members hold this belief. The overarching claim from both sides is that they believe the other party is too extreme in their policies and that they, quote, interfere too much in people's lives. During the 2020 election, both parties, if you remember, especially media outlets, were very polarizing and started isolating themselves away from the other side. This, however, was not just a trend that would stay during the 2020 election, but would eventually end up becoming a habit and a practice. Kamala Harris, Al Gore, and many other Democrats repeatedly refer to Trump as a fascist, and in some cases, a Nazi. Donald Trump, his supporters, and other Republicans also echo the same sentiment and name for Kamala Harris during her 2024 campaign. It is evident that we have lost the ability to see the humanity in the party that we disagree with. A prime example would be the tragic killing of Charlie Kirk on September 10th of 2025. Many of his supporters mourned, while many of his adversaries celebrated. In fact, an entire article was written as to why such people should celebrate. Quote, "Yet, there's a stirring deep inside, a wild joy lifting our hearts, an impeached gleam in our eyes as we say, Charlie Kirk is dead." However, there are also Republicans supporting and making excuses for the tragic deaths that are taking place during ICE operations. It's gotten to the point where only one conclusion can be made, and it's that it's simply as if we are numb to death and tragedy unless, and only unless, it affects our worldview, our politics, and ultimately, our perspective. I know this got really dark really fast, but if you're watching this, and if we're following the proof and the polling and the evidence, what's the solution? How do we bridge the gap between? How do we regain the ability to have compassion for our fellow man? That is quite a complex question with plenty of viable answers. The first step, however, would be to simply acknowledge the issue. We need to recognize where we're at and where we're heading. Then there are some natural next steps. In an article published by Alex Hinton, those natural steps were laid out for us to take. First, we need to listen. We need to hear what the other party has to say, ignore where we disagree, but find out where we do agree, and we can work from there. Then, when our listening, we need to be curious and not dogmatic. We need to actually listen, not look to prove a point or get a clip for TikTok. Finally, we need to widen our range of people and burst out of our political bubble. To be clear, nothing that I'm suggesting is easy. But if we're being honest with ourselves, nothing we've accomplished in this country has ever been easy. It is, however, important. If we cannot recognize our bias, how can we ever hope to stop it? If we cannot see our house collapsing, how can we ever begin to rebuild it? From our founding fathers to Lincoln, to World War II, to 9/11, we've had an uphill battle from the very beginning. But that battle was not fought against one another, but rather with one another. If we can get back to that, then, and only then, can true change be accomplished, and can finally our house stand firm. Hi, thank you so much for watching this video. My name's Cameron and welcome to my channel, Cameron's Journal. If you really liked this type of content, I will be posting more shorter formed video essays, as well as longer ones when I have the time to script them and then pay someone to edit them. But in addition to that, I'm also going to be creating a podcast where I'm going to be talking more into, world news, international relations, as well as, my nuanced takes on faith in politics. So if this is something that has piqued your interest, feel free to like and subscribe and stay around, because there's going to be a lot more coming. And I really should script my outros because I'm kind of just yapping, but thank you so much for watching this video. You could have done anything with your time and you chose to spend it with me. So yeah, I'll see you another time. And I'm not copywriting this because I know it's not me, but let's bridge the gap. Oh, also shout out to person editing this. I've included their link to Fiverr below in case you want to check them out. Not sponsored. They just did a really good job. Okay, goodbye.